Catalina Restrepo had always believed in second chances. At 37, the Bogotá native had built a life that looked successful from the outside. A modest apartment in the Chapinero neighborhood, a steady job as a pharmaceutical sales representative, and enough savings to occasionally treat herself to weekend trips to Cartagena or the coffee region. But beneath the surface of her carefully constructed independence, loneliness had become her constant companion. Her marriage to Andrés had ended 2 years earlier, dissolved not in dramatic confrontation, but in the slow erosion of two people who had simply grown apart. He had wanted to stay in Medellin near his family. She had needed the opportunities that only Bogotá could offer. The divorce had been amicable, almost businesslike, which somehow made it hurt more. There had been no villain in their story, just two people who had failed to meet each other halfway. Catalina threw herself into work, traveling across Colombia's complex geography to meet with doctors and pharmacy chains. She knew every winding mountain road between Bogotá and Cali, had learned to navigate the unpredictable weather patterns that could turn a simple drive into an hours-long ordeal. Her colleagues admired her dedication. Her mother worried she was hiding from life. "Mia, you can't work forever," her mother had said during their weekly Sunday lunch at her parents' home in the northern suburbs. "You're still young. You deserve to be happy, to have companionship." Catalina had smiled and changed the subject the way she always did. But that night, alone in her apartment, with the sounds of Bogotá's eternal traffic humming through the windows, she found herself downloading Tinder. Her best friend Mariana had been urging her to try online dating for months. "Everyone does it now," Mariana had insisted over coffee at Juan Valdez the previous week. "It's not like it used to be. There are good men out there, serious men looking for real connections. You just have to be smart about it." Smart. Catalina prided herself on being smart. She had graduated with honors from Universidad de los Andes. She had built her career through intelligence and persistence. Surely she could navigate the world of online dating with the same careful analysis she applied to everything else. Her profile was honest but hopeful. Pharmaceutical sales rep who loves hiking in the Paramos, discovering new restaurants in Bogotá, and getting lost in a good book. Looking for genuine connection with someone who values conversation and authenticity. The photos showed her at Monserrate, smiling at a coffee farm in Salento, dressed professionally at a medical convention. The first few days brought the usual mix: men who opened with crude messages, profiles that seemed too polished to be real, conversations that fizzled within hours. Catalina was about to dismiss the entire experiment as a waste of time when a notification appeared on her phone during her lunch break on a Tuesday in October. "You have a new match." His name was Rafael Mendoza. The profile showed a handsome man who appeared to be in his early 40s, with warm brown eyes and the kind of genuine smile that reached those eyes. He was photographed at what looked like a construction site, wearing a hard hat, standing with a golden retriever in another image, relaxed and casual at an outdoor cafe. His bio was refreshingly straightforward. Civil engineer, recently returned to Colombia after working abroad. Dog lover, weekend hiker searching for someone to share life's simple moments with. Believe in honesty, respect, and building something real. Something about the phrase, "recently returned to Colombia," resonated with Catalina. She knew what it meant to come back, to try to rebuild a life in a country that had changed while you were gone, or changing yourself. When his message arrived 20 minutes later, she felt an unexpected flutter of interest. "Catalina, your profile stood out immediately. A woman who appreciates both the mountains and good conversation is rare. Have you hiked the Cocuy Range?" "It's been on my list since I returned." She had. The Cocuy National Park, with its dramatic glaciers and challenging trails, was one of her favorite places in Colombia. They spent the next hour exchanging messages about hiking, about the Colombia they both loved, about the challenges of building a life after major transitions. Rafael seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts, asking thoughtful questions rather than dominating the conversation. Over the next 3 days, their connection deepened. Rafael told her about his years working on infrastructure projects in Ecuador and Peru, the loneliness of being away from home, his decision to return to Bogotá to be closer to family. He spoke about his mother's recent health scare, how it had made him realize what truly mattered. Life is too short to spend it disconnected from the people and places we love, he wrote on Wednesday evening. That's why I came back. That's why I'm trying to do things differently this time. Catalina found herself sharing things she rarely discussed with anyone. The quiet pain of her divorce, the pressure she felt from her family to settle down again, her fear that maybe she had missed her chance at real happiness. Rafael's responses were compassionate without being patronizing. You haven't missed anything, he assured her. You've been building yourself into someone strong and independent. The right person will recognize that strength and value it. I hope I get the chance to be that person. Those words stayed with Catalina long after she put down her phone. When was the last time someone had truly seen her? Not the successful sales rep, not the dutiful daughter, not the divorcee who needed to be fixed, but simply her, complex, capable, and yes, lonely. On Thursday morning, Rafael sent her a good morning message with a photo of Bogotá's sunrise from the mountains. Thought of you when I saw this. Hope your day is as beautiful as this view. That evening, he suggested they meet. I know it's fast, and I completely understand if you want to wait. But I feel like we have something real here, Catalina. I'd love to meet you in person, maybe this weekend. We could grab coffee somewhere public, somewhere you feel comfortable. Catalina hesitated. It was fast. They had only been talking for 4 days. But there was something about Rafael that felt different from the other men she had briefly chatted with. He was respectful of boundaries, transparent about his life, genuinely interested in building something meaningful. She thought about what Mariana had said about being smart. Meeting in a public place during the day was safe. She could tell Mariana exactly where she would be. She could drive herself, maintain control of the situation. Saturday afternoon. She typed. There's a cafe I like in Usaquén. Very public, excellent coffee. Rafael's response came quickly. Perfect. But I have a counter-proposal if you're open to it. I'm overseeing a project near Guatavita, about an hour north. The town is beautiful, and there's an incredible restaurant overlooking the reservoir. We could meet there, have lunch with a view. But I completely understand if you'd prefer to stay in the city. Catalina considered this. Guatavita was a popular tourist destination, famous for its reservoir and the legend of El Dorado. It would be more private than Usaquén, but it was also public enough, a tourist town with restaurants and people. And an hour's drive showed he was willing to invest time and effort. Okay, she wrote, but I'm driving myself there. Send me the exact address of the restaurant. Even better, Rafael responded. That way you're in complete control. The restaurant is called Mirador del Lago. Here's the address and coordinates. Should I share my driver's license information with you? I want you to feel completely safe. That offer surprised and reassured her. That would be good, actually. Within minutes, Rafael sent her a photo of his driver's license. Rafael Antonio Mendoza Silva, 42 years old. Bogotá address in the Cedritos neighborhood. She ran his information through social media and found a Facebook profile that matched: construction projects, photos with friends, posts about engineering and Colombian landscapes. Everything seemed legitimate. That night, Catalina told Mariana about the plan, an hour outside the city. Mariana's voice carried concern over the phone. Cata, that seems like a lot for a first date. It's a tourist town, Mari. Lots of people around. And I'm driving myself. I'll share my location with you the entire time. Promise me you'll check in every hour. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you leave immediately. I promise. Friday passed in a blur of anticipation and preparation. Catalina found herself more excited than nervous. She chose her outfit carefully. Nice jeans, a burgundy blouse that flattered her complexion, comfortable but stylish boots, suitable for the cool mountain weather. She charged her phone fully, made sure her car's gas tank was full, and confirmed her location sharing with Mariana. Rafael sent her a message Friday night. Looking forward to tomorrow, Catalina. I have a feeling this is going to be the start of something special. Sleep well. As Catalina drifted off to sleep, she felt something she had not experienced in years. Hope. Not the desperate, grasping hope of someone drowning, but the quiet, genuine anticipation of someone who believed good things might still be possible. She had no way of knowing that she had less than 48 hours to live. She could not imagine that by Monday morning, she would be just another name in Colombia's grim statistics of violence against women. And she certainly could not foresee that her death would become a cautionary tale, shared across social media and news outlets as a warning about the dangers lurking behind seemingly perfect online profiles. Saturday morning dawned clear and bright over Bogotá, the kind of perfect October day that made Catalina grateful to be alive. Catalina left her apartment in Chapinero at 11 in the morning, giving herself plenty of time for the drive north. She had programmed the route into Google Maps and shared her live location with Mariana, who had already sent 3 messages reminding her to stay alert. The drive out of Bogotá was familiar at first. She took Autopista Norte, watching the city gradually thin out as she headed toward the Sabana. The weather was perfect, cool but sunny, the kind of day that made the surrounding mountains look like they had been painted onto the sky. Traffic moved steadily, and Catalina found herself relaxing into the drive, listening to a playlist of vallenato and modern Colombian pop. Rafael had sent her a good morning text at 9. "Excited to finally meet you today, Catalina. Drive safely. Text me when you're getting close." She had responded with a simple thumbs up, not wanting to seem too eager, but feeling genuinely happy about the meeting. There was something about Rafael's consistent kindness over the past days that had lowered her defenses. He never pushed, never demanded, just expressed interest and respect. As she passed Chia and continued towards Sesquile, the landscape opened up. Rolling green hills dotted with dairy farms, small towns with colonial churches, the occasional glimpse of the reservoirs that supplied Bogotá's water. This was the Colombia she loved, far from the chaos of the capital, peaceful and timeless. At 11:40, she sent her first check-in to Mariana. "All good, about 20 minutes away." "Weather is beautiful," Mariana responded immediately. "Remember, public place only. Don't go anywhere isolated with him." Catalina smiled at her friend's protectiveness, but felt a small flutter of concern. Was she being naive? She had done her research, verified his identity, taken precautions. But she was still about to meet a stranger in a town she did not know well, far from immediate help. She pushed the thought away. This was exactly the kind of overthinking that had kept her alone for 2 years. Sometimes you had to take calculated risks if you wanted anything to change. The road to Guatavita wound through increasingly rural terrain. She passed the turnoff for the famous Guatavita Reservoir, the circular lake that locals claimed inspired the legend of El Dorado. The tourist area was busy with families and visitors, which reassured her. This was not some isolated location. This was a popular destination. Her phone rang. "Rafael." "Hey," she answered, keeping one hand on the wheel. "Catalina, hi. I wanted to make sure you found the route okay."
"Where are you?"
"Just passing the main reservoir turnoff. Should be there in about 10 minutes. Perfect. Listen, small change of plans. The Mirador del Lago is completely packed today. Some kind of tour group took over the whole terrace. But I know another place, just 5 minutes further up the mountain. It is quieter, more intimate, better food too. Would that be okay?" Something in Catalina's stomach tightened. A change of location, somewhere more isolated. Every true crime podcast she had ever heard suddenly played in her mind. "I don't know, Rafael. I was expecting to meet at the place we agreed on. I completely understand." His voice remained warm, understanding. "How about this? Drive to the Mirador first. See for yourself that it is packed. Then you can decide. I promise I'm not trying to trick you or make you uncomfortable. I just want us to have a nice, quiet lunch where we can actually talk." That seemed reasonable. She could verify his story, make her own decision. Okay, I will meet you at the Mirador first. See you in a few minutes. I'm in a dark blue Toyota Prado. Can't wait to finally meet you in person. Catalina continued up the winding road, her attention now heightened. The Mirador del Lago appeared on her right, a rustic restaurant with a large terrace overlooking the valley. Raphael had been telling the truth. The parking lot was full, and she could see dozens of people crowded on the terrace. Clearly, some kind of organized tour group with matching hats. A dark blue Toyota Prado flashed its lights at her from the parking area. Raphael stepped out, and Catalina felt a moment of relief. He looked exactly like his photos. Tall, well-built, with an easy smile and casual but neat clothing. He waved as she parked next to him. She got out of her car, leaving her keys in her pocket and her phone easily accessible. "Catalina," Raphael said, his smile genuine and warm. He did not move to hug her or invade her space, just extended his hand for a handshake. "It is so good to finally meet you. You are even more beautiful in person." "Thanks," Catalina said, shaking his hand and feeling herself relax slightly. His grip was firm but not aggressive. His demeanor was exactly as it had been over text. Friendly, respectful, interested. "So," he gestured toward the packed restaurant. "As you can see, not ideal for conversation. But there is this other place I mentioned, just up the road. It is called La Casona del Bosque. Family-owned, incredible bandeja paisa. We can follow each other in our cars, if that makes you more comfortable." Catalina looked at the crowded Mirador, then at Raphael. Everything about him seemed normal, safe. She was being paranoid. This was exactly why she had stayed alone for so long, too afraid to trust, too cautious to take any chances. "Okay," she heard herself say, "but I will follow you. I want to see where we are going." "Perfect. It is literally 5 minutes up this same road. You will see it is still a public place, still safe. I just want you to feel comfortable, Catalina." They got back into their vehicles. Raphael pulled out of the parking lot, and Catalina followed, sending a quick text to Mariana. "Met him. Seems nice. Restaurant was packed. Going to backup location nearby. Still following my location?" Mariana's response came fast. "Yes, be careful. Check in 30 minutes. The road continued upward, becoming narrower and more winding. Catalina kept the blue Prado in sight, noting that they were passing fewer buildings, fewer signs of civilization. 5 minutes passed, then 8, then 10. Her unease grew with each passing kilometer. This was not just up the road. They were heading deep into rural mountainous terrain. The few houses they passed looked abandoned or rarely used. The forest pressed in on both sides of the narrow paved road. Catalina's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She reached for her phone to call Mariana, but at that moment, Raphael's turn signal came on. He pulled off the main road onto what looked like a dirt track leading into the forest. No. Every instinct in Catalina's body screamed at her to stop, to turn around, to get back to the main road. This was wrong. This was exactly what Mariana had warned her about. This was how women disappeared. But then she saw it. A small wooden sign, partially hidden by vegetation. La Casona del Bosque, 800 metros. Maybe it really was just a remote restaurant. Maybe she was overreacting. Raphael had stopped his Prado on the dirt road, waiting for her. He got out and walked back to her car. Catalina rolled down her window only halfway. "I know this looks sketchy," Raphael said with an apologetic smile. "But I promise the restaurant is just around this bend." "This is the access road?" "A lot of these mountain restaurants are hidden like this. That is part of their charm." Catalina looked at the narrow dirt road, disappearing into the trees. Every nerve in her body was firing warnings. But Raphael stood there, looking concerned and apologetic, not threatening, and she could see the sign. "There was supposed to be a restaurant, I don't know," she said, her voice uncertain. "Tell you what," Raphael said. "Leave your car here on the main road. Ride with me just to see the place. If you do not like it, I will bring you right back, and we can drive back to Bogotá and find somewhere else. I'm not trying to pressure you, Catalina. I just really think you will love this place." That was the moment. That was when Catalina Restrepo made the decision that would cost her everything. Against every instinct, against all the warnings she had heard and read, she looked at Raphael's kind face and convinced herself she was being paranoid. "Okay," she said quietly, "but just to look." She locked her Mazda and walked to the passenger side of his Prado, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. As she climbed in, she noticed something that sent ice through her veins. The child locks were engaged on the passenger door. "Why are the child locks on?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Raphael started the engine, that easy smile still on his face. "Oh, safety feature. My nephew rides with me sometimes. I should disable those," but he did not disable them. He put the Prado in gear and started driving down the dirt road, deeper into the forest, and Catalina Restrepo realized with horrifying clarity that she had just made a fatal mistake. The dirt road deteriorated rapidly as Raphael drove deeper into the forest. What had started as a rutted but passable track became little more than a trail, branches scraping against the sides of the Prado. Catalina's phone showed one bar of signal, flickering between service and nothing. "Raphael, this doesn't look like a restaurant access road," Catalina said, fighting to keep her voice calm, even as panic clawed at her chest. "I want to go back. Now. We're almost there," Raphael replied, his voice still pleasant, but somehow different now, flatter, missing the warmth that had characterized their conversations. "Just another minute." Catalina tried the door handle, locked the child's safety locks. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she fumbled with her phone, trying to open WhatsApp to message Mariana. But before she could type anything, Raphael's hand shot out and grabbed the phone from her grip. "I'll take that," he said calmly, tossing it onto the dashboard. "Give it back." Catalina reached for it, but Raphael caught her wrist, his grip iron tight. "Sit still, Catalina. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." The pleasant mask had completely dropped now. His eyes, which had seemed so kind in his photos, were cold and calculating. This was not Rafael Mendoza, recently returned engineer looking for connection. This was someone else entirely. "Something else, please." Catalina's voice shook. "I have a family. My friend knows where I am. She's tracking my location." "The police, your friend is tracking your car," Raphael interrupted, "which is parked safely on the main road. As far as anyone knows, you're still there. And up here there's no cell signal anyway." "No one's coming, Catalina." The Prado burst into a small clearing surrounded by dense forest. Raphael killed the engine. In the sudden silence, Catalina could hear birds calling and the rustle of wind through eucalyptus trees. No other sounds, no voices, no traffic. Nothing that suggested civilization existed anywhere nearby. "Why?" Catalina whispered. "Why me?" Raphael turned to look at her, and for the first time she saw something like emotion cross his face. Not remorse, more like satisfaction. "Because you were perfect. The right age, divorced, lonely, eager to believe in second chances. You checked all the boxes." "Boxes? What are you talking about?" "Get out," Raphael ordered, opening his own door. "We're going for a walk." "No." Catalina pressed herself against the passenger door, as if she could somehow melt through it. "No, I'm not going anywhere with you." Raphael reached under his seat and pulled out a knife with a 6-inch blade. "You have two choices. Walk with me into the forest or I drag you. Either way, we're going. But one option leaves you with more dignity and less pain." Catalina's mind raced through every self-defense tip she had ever heard, every piece of advice from crime shows and safety seminars. Never go to a second location. Fight in public, scream, run. But she was already at the second location, and there was no one to hear her scream. Raphael opened her door from the outside. The child lock disengaged with a click. He stood back, giving her space but keeping the knife visible. "Come on, Catalina. Don't make me hurt you in the car. There's already been enough mess to clean up." Those last words sent ice through her veins. Enough mess, meaning he had done this before. Meaning she was not the first. Catalina stepped out of the Prado on trembling legs. The October air felt suddenly cold despite the sunshine. She looked around desperately for any escape route, any possibility of survival. The forest was dense on all sides. She had no idea which direction led back to civilization. "Walk," Raphael said, gesturing with the knife toward a barely visible trail leading into the trees. As Catalina walked, her mind worked frantically. She needed to buy time, needed to find an opportunity. She thought about her mother, who would be expecting her for Sunday lunch tomorrow. She thought about Mariana, who would start worrying when she did not check in. She thought about all the women whose stories she had heard, women who had disappeared after trusting the wrong person. She would not be another statistic. She could not be. "There are other women, aren't there?" Catalina said, forcing herself to speak. "I'm not the first person you've brought here." Raphael walked several feet behind her, close enough to catch her if she ran, but far enough that she could not easily attack him. "You're the fourth. The others are already here, in a way. This is a special place, very private. No one ever comes up here. 4 women, 4 lives ended in these anonymous woods." Catalina felt rage mixing with her terror. This man had smiled at her, had sent her good morning messages, had pretended to understand her loneliness. And all of it had been a performance, a carefully constructed trap. The trail opened into another small clearing. Catalina saw disturbed earth, areas where the ground looked different from the surrounding forest floor. Graves. She was looking at unmarked graves. "This is far enough," Raphael said. "Turn around." Catalina turned slowly. Raphael stood 10 feet away, the knife held loosely in his right hand. He looked completely calm, as if this was just another ordinary Saturday afternoon. That calmness was somehow more terrifying than rage would have been. "Please," Catalina said one more time. "Please don't do this. Whatever happened to you, whatever made you this way, it doesn't have to continue. You can stop. You can let me go." Raphael tilted his head, studying her. "You sound like number 2, Laura. She tried to reason with me too. Told me about her daughter, about her dreams, about how she had so much to live for." He paused. It didn't matter then either. Something shifted in Catalina in that moment. He was going to kill her. No amount of pleading or reasoning would change that. She could see it in his eyes, in his posture. He had made his decision before she ever got in his car, probably before he ever swiped right on her profile. But she was not going to kneel down and wait for death. She was not going to make it easy for him. "No," Catalina said firmly. "Excuse me?" I said no. "You want to kill me? You're going to have to work for it." And then Catalina Restrepo ran. She did not run back toward the trail. He would expect that. Instead, she plunged directly into the densest part of the forest, into the undergrowth and tangled vegetation. Branches tore at her face and clothes. She heard Raphael curse behind her, and then the sound of him crashing through the forest after her. Catalina ran with everything she had, with every ounce of strength built from years of hiking Colombian mountains, with every molecule of rage at the unfairness of dying this way. She ran for her mother, for her friends, for every woman who had trusted the wrong profile and paid with her life. She ran because giving up meant letting him win. And Catalina Restrepo was not ready to let anyone win her life from her. Catalina's lungs burned as she crashed through the Colombian cloud forest. The terrain was treacherous, steep slopes covered in thick vegetation and loose soil that gave way beneath her boots. She could hear Raphael behind her, closer than she wanted, his heavier footsteps breaking branches and disturbing the forest floor. She angled downward, reasoning that downhill meant water and water meant people. The Guatavita region was full of streams, feeding into the reservoir system. If she could find water, she could follow it to civilization. Behind her, Raphael's voice cut through the trees. "You're only making this worse for yourself, Catalina. This forest goes on for kilometers. There's no one around for miles." Catalina refused to waste breath responding. She focused on moving, on survival. Her pharmaceutical sales job had kept her in decent shape, but this was different from leisurely weekend hikes. This was running for her life through unforgiving terrain with no clear destination. A ravine opened suddenly before her. Catalina barely managed to stop herself from tumbling over the edge. Below, perhaps 15 meters down, she could see a narrow stream cutting through moss-covered rocks. It was steep, but not vertical. She could climb down. She glanced back. Raphael had not appeared yet, but she could hear him getting closer. Decision made, Catalina turned and began scrambling down the ravine, using roots and rocks for handholds. Dirt and stones cascaded beneath her, and twice she nearly lost her grip. But desperation gave her strength she did not know she possessed. She reached the bottom, her hands scraped and bleeding, just as Raphael appeared at the ravine's edge above her. For a moment, their eyes met across the distance. Then Catalina turned and ran along the stream bed, her feet splashing through the cold water. The stream curved through the forest, sometimes shallow enough to run through, sometimes forcing her to scramble along the muddy banks. Her nice burgundy blouse was torn and filthy. Her jeans were soaked and heavy, but she was moving. She was still alive, and that was all that mattered. Behind her, she heard Raphael beginning his descent down the ravine. He was bigger and stronger, but the steep climb would slow him down. She had gained precious seconds. The stream widened slightly, and Catalina saw something that made her heart leap. Tire tracks in the mud. Old tracks, but definitely from a vehicle. Somewhere nearby, there was a road or trail that vehicles could access. She followed the tire tracks, moving as fast as her exhausted legs could manage. The forest began to thin slightly. Through the trees ahead, she could see a break in the canopy. A clearing or a road, something man-made. Hope surged through her. Just a little further. Just a few more meters. She burst out of the tree line onto a narrow dirt road. Not the main paved road, but definitely something. To her left, the road descended into more forest. To her right, it climbed toward what looked like a ridgeline. Catalina chose uphill. High ground meant better visibility, better chance of seeing where she was, better chance of finding help. Her legs were shaking now, her body running on pure adrenaline. She had been running for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. Every breath was agony. But she pushed forward, up the steep dirt road. Behind her, Raphael emerged from the forest. He saw her on the road and smiled. Not a kind smile, a predator's smile. "Good effort, Catalina," he called out. "But this road doesn't go anywhere. I know because I scouted this area for months. It's an old logging road, been abandoned for years. The gate at the top is locked. There's no way out." Catalina did not stop. Could not stop. Even if he was telling the truth, she would not make it easy. She would fight until she had no strength left. The road curved sharply, and Catalina saw what Raphael had described. A rusted metal gate blocked the road, secured with a heavy chain and padlock. Beyond it, she could see the road continued, but was completely overgrown, clearly unused for years. She rattled the gate desperately, but it was solid. The fencing on either side extended into thick brush. She could try to climb it, but it would take time. Time she did not have. Raphael appeared around the curve, walking now, not running. He knew he had her trapped. The knife was still in his hand. "End of the line," he said calmly. "You ran well, better than the others. But it's over now." Catalina looked around frantically. The forest pressed close on both sides. The gate was impassable. Raphael blocked her only escape route down the road, but then she saw it. A large rock, the size of a coconut, lying at the base of the gatepost. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. She grabbed the rock with both hands and turned to face Raphael. "Stay back," she warned, her voice raw. "I swear I will fight you." Raphael stopped about 10 meters away. "Put that down, Catalina. You're not a killer." "I am. Maybe I'm not," Catalina said, her arms trembling from exhaustion and fear. "But I'll die trying to stop you. And I'll leave marks, DNA evidence. They'll find you eventually. You can't do this forever." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Raphael's face. She was right, and they both knew it. Every victim left evidence. Every crime scene left traces. He had been lucky so far, but luck ran out. "They won't find anything," Raphael said, but his voice lacked conviction. "They never do. My friend Mariana knows about you," Catalina pressed, sensing weakness. "She has screenshots of our conversations, your photos, everything. When I don't come home today, she'll go to the police. Your face will be everywhere. Every news station, every social media platform. You won't be able to use dating apps anymore. You won't be able to hunt anymore." Raphael's jaw clenched. "Shut up. How many more women were you planning to kill?" Catalina's voice grew stronger despite her exhaustion. 5 more? 10? It's over, Raphael. Whether you kill me or not, your hunting days are finished. I said, shut up. Raphael lunged forward. Catalina threw the rock with all her remaining strength. It struck Raphael in the shoulder, throwing off his attack. He stumbled, cursing, and Catalina tried to run past him down the road. Almost. She almost made it. Raphael's hand closed around her ankle, and Catalina crashed face first onto the dirt road. Catalina hit the ground hard, tasting blood and dirt. Raphael's weight pressed onto her back, pinning her down. She tried to scream, but his hand clamped over her mouth. I gave you a chance to make this easy, Raphael hissed in her ear. You should have taken it. Catalina bit down on his hand with everything she had. Raphael howled and jerked back. She twisted beneath him, clawing at his face, feeling skin tear under her fingernails. If she was going to die, she would leave evidence. She would make sure he carried marks of what he had done. They struggled in the dirt road, a desperate, ugly fight. Raphael was stronger, but Catalina fought with the fury of someone who had nothing left to lose. She landed a knee to his ribs, heard him grunt in pain. Her fingers found his eyes, and he reeled back, momentarily blinded. Catalina scrambled to her feet and ran again, back down the road toward the forest. But her body had reached its limit. Her legs gave out after only a few meters, and she collapsed onto the dirt, gasping for air. Raphael stood slowly, wiping blood from his scratched face. You stupid bitch, he said, his calm facade completely shattered now. You just made everything worse. He advanced on her, and Catalina knew she had no fight left. She had tried. God, she had tried so hard. But sometimes trying was not enough. I'm sorry, Mama, Catalina whispered, thinking of her mother who would be waiting for her tomorrow at Sunday lunch. I'm so sorry. Raphael grabbed her by the hair and dragged her back toward the forest. What happened in the next hour in those woods would be reconstructed later by forensic investigators piecing together evidence. The defensive wounds on Catalina's hands and arms, the DNA under her fingernails, the pattern of injuries that told the story of a woman who had fought until her very last breath. Catalina Restrepo died in an unmarked clearing in the mountains above Guatavita on October 19, 2019, at approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She was 37 years old. Raphael buried her in a shallow grave next to the 4 women who had come before her. He used a folding shovel he kept in his truck, working quickly and efficiently. This was not his first burial. He knew how deep to dig, how to disguise the disturbed earth. When he finished, he drove back down the mountain in his blue Toyota Prado. He stopped at Catalina's abandoned Mazda on the main road and debated what to do with it. Moving it was risky, but leaving it there would draw attention too quickly. He decided to drive it deeper into a forest access road several kilometers away, using gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints. He wiped down the interior, removed her registration documents and personal items, and locked it. With luck, it would be days before anyone found the vehicle and connected it to a missing person. Raphael returned to his own truck and drove back to Bogotá, stopping at a car wash to clean mud from the Prado's undercarriage. He went home to his apartment in Cedritos, showered, changed clothes, and put his bloody garments in a garbage bag for disposal. Then he opened Tinder and began swiping through new profiles. By Sunday afternoon, when Catalina failed to appear for lunch, her mother called Mariana in a panic. She's not answering her phone. It goes straight to voicemail. This isn't like her. Mariana felt ice in her stomach. I'm checking her location now. The location showed Catalina's phone had last pinged near Guatavita at 11:47 a.m. Saturday morning. Then nothing. 26 hours of silence. Call the police, Mariana said. Something's wrong. By Monday morning, Catalina Restrepo was officially reported missing. Police found her Mazda abandoned on a remote forest road Tuesday afternoon. Her phone was discovered in the glove compartment, battery dead. There was no sign of struggle in the vehicle, no blood, no obvious evidence of foul play, but Mariana had screenshots of every conversation with Rafael Mendoza, his photos, his driver's license. Everything Catalina had shared before driving to Guatavita. "This is the man she went to meet," Mariana told Detective Andres Ruiz of the Bogotá Metropolitan Police. "This is who she was with when she disappeared." Detective Ruiz ran the driver's license information. The address in Cedritos did not exist. The license number was fake. Rafael Mendoza was a ghost, but the photos were real. Within hours, Rafael's face was on every news station in Colombia. "Have you seen this man?" Wanted for questioning in the disappearance of Catalina Restrepo. Someone recognized him. A woman in Medellin who had matched with him on Bumble 3 months earlier under a different name. She had agreed to meet him, but cancelled at the last minute because something felt off. "He wanted me to drive to a remote restaurant," she told police. "When I said no, he became angry and unmatched me immediately. More women came forward. Different names, different profiles, same pattern. Remote locations, isolated restaurants, pressure to trust him quickly." Police obtained warrants for dating app records. They found 6 different accounts, 6 different identities, all using variations of the same photos. The digital trail led them to an IP address registered to a Carlos Mendoza in the Cedritos neighborhood. Wednesday morning, police raided the apartment. Carlos Mendoza answered the door, confused and frightened. Yes, that was his nephew, Rafael. His real name was Rafael Andres Jimenez. He had been staying with Carlos for the past 6 months. "Where is he now?" Detective Ruiz demanded. "I don't know," Carlos said honestly. "He left Sunday night with a backpack. Said he was going hiking. I haven't seen him since." Rafael was running. But police had his real name now, his real identity. And they had something else. The scratches on his face that Catalina had left during their final struggle. By Wednesday afternoon, authorities located Rafael's real residence, a small house he rented in Soacha under his actual name. Inside, they found journals detailing his methods, souvenirs from his victims, and most damning of all, a hand-drawn map showing burial locations in the Guatavita Mountains. 5 sites were marked. Police organized a massive search operation. The search teams reached the mountain clearing on Thursday morning. Cadaver dogs alerted immediately to multiple sites. Forensic anthropologists began the careful work of excavation while armed police secured the perimeter. By Thursday evening, they had recovered 5 bodies in various stages of decomposition. All women, all buried in shallow graves within a 100-meter radius. The medical examiner's preliminary assessment confirmed they had all died from similar patterns of violence. Detective Ruiz stood at the crime scene as the sun set over the mountains, his jaw tight with rage and grief. 5 families would finally have answers. 5 women who had simply wanted connection, companionship, a chance at happiness. "We'll find him," he promised the forensic team leader. "We'll make sure he never does this again." The identification process began immediately. Dental records, DNA analysis, personal effects found with the bodies. Within 48 hours, they had names for all 5 victims. Laura Jimenez, 41, from Medellin. Disappeared 14 months earlier, Patricia Montoya, 39, from Cali. Missing 11 months, Carolina Vargas, 35, from Bogotá. Last seen 8 months ago, Diana Rueda, 42, from Pereira. Vanished 6 months prior, and Catalina Restrepo, 37, from Bogotá. Dead for only 7 days. The news coverage was massive. Colombia's social media exploded with outrage and grief. Thousands of women shared their own stories of dangerous encounters through dating apps. Near misses, instincts that had saved their lives. Mariana gave tearful interviews, showing the screenshots of Rafael's messages to Catalina. "She did everything right," Mariana said, her voice breaking. "She checked his information. She told me where she was going. She took precautions. But he was so careful, so convincing. How are we supposed to know who to trust?" Catalina's mother appeared on national television, holding a photo of her daughter. "My baby died alone in those mountains," she said, tears streaming down her face. "She was smart, careful, loving. She deserves so much more than this. Please, if anyone knows where this monster is hiding, help us. Help bring him to justice. The pressure on law enforcement was immense. Every police agency in Colombia was searching for Rafael Andres Jimenez. His photo was everywhere. Warders were alerted. Airports monitored. Rafael lasted 11 days on the run. A farmer in rural Cundinamarca reported seeing a man matching the description sleeping in an abandoned barn on his property. Police surrounded the location at dawn. Rafael was found sleeping on a pile of hay, exhausted and filthy, with scratches still visible on his face. He surrendered without resistance. The trial began 8 months later. Rafael's defense attorney tried to argue diminished capacity, childhood trauma, mental illness. But the evidence was overwhelming. The journals describing his victims, the map of burial sites, the fake identities, the dating app messages showing calculated manipulation. Most damning was the DNA evidence. Catalina's DNA under Rafael's fingernails, his DNA at the crime scene, the blood evidence, the forensic pathology reports showing the brutal nature of the murders. Catalina's testimony, given through forensic evidence, told the story of a woman who had fought with extraordinary courage. The defensive wounds, the torn clothing, the evidence of struggle documented by investigators proved she had not gone quietly into death. On the stand, Rafael showed no remorse. When asked why he had targeted these specific women, his answer was chilling. They were easy. Lonely women always are. They want to believe so badly that someone could love them. The courtroom erupted. Catalina's mother had to be restrained. Mariana sobbed openly. The judge's verdict was swift and decisive. Guilty on 5 counts of aggravated homicide. Guilty of attempted kidnapping. Guilty of fraud and identity theft. Rafael Andres Jimenez was sentenced to 60 years in prison, the maximum allowed under Colombian law. You are a predator who exploited the basic human need for connection, the judge said during sentencing. You turned hope into a weapon and used women's vulnerability against them. You will spend the rest of your life in prison, and society will be safer for it. 2 years after Catalina's death, her mother and Mariana established the Fundación Catalina Restrepo, dedicated to digital safety education and support for victims of online predation. They traveled to universities and community centers across Colombia, teaching young people how to recognize manipulation, how to take precautions, how to trust their instincts. Emma, Catalina's cousin, became a victim's advocate, working with families of missing persons. Catalina fought until her last breath, Emma said at one awareness event. She left the evidence that caught her killer. She saved future victims by refusing to give up. That's her legacy. The 5 families whose daughters had been found in those mountains formed a support network. They met monthly, sharing memories of their loved ones, supporting each other through the impossible grief of violent loss. On the anniversary of Catalina's death, they gathered at a memorial park in Bogotá. 5 trees were planted, 1 for each victim. A plaque bore their names and a simple inscription, in memory of Laura, Patricia, Carolina, Diana, and Catalina. Taken too soon by violence, remembered always with love. Your lives mattered. Your stories will not be forgotten. Catalina's mother placed flowers at the base of the tree planted for her daughter. She wanted to believe in love again, she said quietly. That shouldn't have cost her life. Mariana stood beside her, holding her hand. She was brave, Mariana said. Even at the end, she was so brave, and she had been. Catalina Restrepo had spent her final hours fighting for survival with intelligence, courage, and determination. She had left the evidence that brought her killer to justice. She had ensured that Rafael would never hurt another woman. Her death was a tragedy, but her fight, her refusal to surrender, her final act of scratching DNA evidence from her killer's face, that was heroism. Colombia would remember Catalina not as a victim, but as a woman who had fought back against evil and even in death had won.